Yes, dear students, welcome to Darasa Online again. It is another day, interesting day, where we are going to discuss economics. So we have our common subject, that is economics. Economics is our subject we are going to discuss today again. Now today we are going to make revision on the topic. The topic we are going to discuss, it is a theory of money. Theory of money. So this is our topic that will concentrate today, theory of money. Now money, we know what is money, we know the qualities of a good money, we know the functions of money. Probably we have covered even the part of inflation, because inflation is related with money. So this topic, it has several subtopics. And most of the subtopics, they are not much difficult, but the subtopic which is at least bringing a problem to students, especially in tackling some of the questions, it is the subtopic of price index. So our subtopic here, it will be a price index. This is our subtopic. So we are going to discuss price index within the topic of theory of money. Now try to recall back, why do we study this price index in the part of theory of money? Remember, you said money is the medium of exchange. It is the one which buys goods and services in the community. It means without money, we cannot be capable to purchase goods and services. We cannot be capable even to transfer from one area to another. We cannot be capable to do anything. So money is a medium of exchange. It is facilitating us from making different exchange in the market. For that case, again, we say the money, it is the one which is influencing price in the market. We can find maybe prices are changing from time to time, but one of the factor which is influencing changing those prices, it is money. So you can find that theory of money, it is directly related to prices of goods and services in the market, because we buy goods and services by using money. Now for that case, you can find because money is related to price of goods and services in the market, you can find prices of goods, they are changing from time to time. As they change, we can measure the rate at which those prices are changing. Now when we say we want to measure how prices are changing from time to time, it is when now we say we are measuring price index. So it means the price index has direct relation with the money. Again, remember we said the value of money is inversely related to the price of goods and services. We say inversely, it means, if you remember, if we have V as the value of money, we said it has inverse relation with the price, meaning that when the price of goods is increasing, we expect the value of money to fall, because they have inverse relation. So you can find that there is a relation between the value of money and the price of goods and services, because we say the price of goods it determines in terms of money. For example, when we say this is this item, it is sold how much, it means we want to know the purchasing power of money at that given service or a good. Now for that case, you find that there is a relation between the price of goods and services with the value of money. So as the price of goods increases, we expect the value of money to fall. So as I said, there is a relation between money, which is our topic, and the price of goods and services, which is for buying goods and services. Now for that case, you can say price index, by definition now, price index is a statistical tool, which is used to measure how prices of goods and services changes over a given period of time. That is price index. So price index, it is a statistical tool. It is a measure that is used to show how prices of goods and services are changing over a given period of time. It means we have prices for different commodities in the market. We have prices for different goods, services in the market. Now, we expect those prices to change over a certain time. Now, if we want to measure the rate at which those prices are changing, the rate at which prices are either increasing or decreasing, then we say the tool which will be used to measure that change, it is the price index. And in most time, it is referred as the consumer price index, CPI, that is consumer price index, because in most time we measure the rate of changes in terms of goods and services by considering the final goods. That means final goods and services. So we can check the change in those goods and services only for those final goods and services. That's why we say it is called the consumer price index. It means we want to check how those prices they can affect for the consumers, but especially for the consumer goods and services. Now, this is the instrument, that is the price index. So the aim of price index of measuring this one, it is aiming to know the changes in the price of goods and services, of which now will be in a position to know the cost of living, how have they increased or decreased over a given period of time, or will be in a position to know the living standard of the people, has it increased or has it fallen? And you can also know the value of money, has it increased or has it fallen? So this price index is very useful in determining different aspects of life in the economy, because we measure the rate of change in price, but it will be used to know whether the cost of living are increasing or they are decreasing, or the cost of the living standard is increasing or is falling. So you will be in a position to know those items by using the consumer price index. Now, when measuring consumer price index, because there are so many forms of price index that can be measured, but we have to follow some procedures, or sometimes they are called the essentials of price index. Necessary conditions or necessary requirements. It means the procedures, they are required to be followed when you want to measure price index. Remember, price index is not just measured by any individual. No, there are special departments in the government which they are used to collect those informations, to measure those statistical informations, then to give the feedback to the public. So it is not that any individual can measure price index. No, that there are special departments in the government which they are used in collecting those informations, making those calculations, and the result can be used or displayed to the community to know those, I said, maybe the condition of life, the standard of living, and the cost of living. So that is the aim. So they have to follow the following procedures. Number one, we have to make the selection of the base year. Selection of the base year. The base year, it is, we want to compare price index of 2 years. Now, for example, this is 2020. We want to compare the price index with another year previously. Now, to choose that year, maybe it is 2010 or it is 2015, that is the base year. So the base year is the previous year, or the year of which we want to compare with the current year. Now, the base year, it is sometimes not easy to choose, because this base year I want to choose, it has some criteria. For example, it should be a year which prices were relatively stable. It is not possible to find a year which the whole year prices of goods and services did not change. That's why we say we choose a base year which prices of goods and services were relatively. That means at least if they were changing, then they were not, that there were no frequent change in those prices. That means at least there were stability in those prices of goods and services. Because if we choose a year which prices fluctuated very much, it will not be a good measure or a good way in comparing the 2 years. So at least we choose a year which at least the prices of goods and services in the market, they were at least stable as compared to other years. That is for the base year. So it is not easy to choose base year. There are criteria they have to follow. That's why I say there should be, the prices should be at least stable as we compare with the other years. Then the second procedure that we have to make on calculating price index, we have to select the representative basket of goods. Selection. Number two, selection of the representative basket of goods. It means when we say selection of the representative basket of goods. We cannot measure the changes of prices of goods and services of all goods in the economy or of all services in the economy. It means we have to make a survey to choose those goods which we want to measure. And again, this basket of goods, which will comprise a lot of goods there are criteria to choose those goods. We don't just pick from or any good or any service. No, there are also criteria that those people they have to follow when they choose those goods which they want to include in the basket. So the second procedure, those people deal with this measurement, they have to select the representative basket of goods. Now, this basket of goods, they should be goods which are frequently consumed by all members in the society. But means when you choose this representative basket of goods, there are so many goods in the economy. There are so many services in the economy. But we choose those goods which are at least frequently consumed by all members in the society. We have those common goods which, whether they are low income earners, they use, but also high income earners, they use. If you choose some goods, you can find they are only used by a certain class of people, where other people they don't use. So it will not be good measure of the condition of life to those people in the society, because the society divided into low income earners, medium income earners, and high income earners. So we choose those goods at least where these groups of people, they all what? Consume the goods. For example, we have foodstuffs which at least the low income earners they use, the high income earners they use, and the medium income earners they also use. So we choose those goods which at least they are consumed frequently by all members in the society. But also these goods should be consumed in both current year and in the base year. We have chosen the base year. Let's say, for example, maybe we want to measure price index between 2005 maybe and 2015. It means this is our current year. This is our base year we have chosen, as we say, those principles. Now, when we want to choose a basket of goods to be measured, it means we should make sure that those goods are consumed in this current year, but they were also consumed in the base year. Because sometimes you can find a certain good which was communally consumed in 2005, it is no longer in the market. So you cannot take that good because in the current time or in the current year, it is no longer in the market. So we have to take a good or a service which it appeared or it was consumed in both base year and in the current year. So this is for the second procedure. You have to make selection of the representative basket of goods. Then procedure number three, that is data collection. Data collection. Data collection means data about what? Because you have chosen the base year, you have chosen the representative of those commodities. Maybe you have chosen maize, beans, yams, millet, and whatever kind of goods which you think they are consumed in the society. Now you make data collection. Data collection means you have to collect data about prices and quantities. Prices and quantities. This, it means the data we're going to collect, they are about prices of goods and services and the quantities of those goods and services. Remember, as I said, if we measure price index of this year and this year, it means we have to collect information about the prices and quantities in both the 2 years. It means we collect the information in the base year about prices and quantity. We go in the current year again, we collect information about prices and quantities in the current year. So these informations, they can be obtained through different ways. For example, we know different methods of data collection. For example, we can use maybe sample surveys. Through, for example, even household visits. Now, household visits here, it means those people who are dealing with the collection of these informations or statistical departments, they visit household. It means you have to visit maybe retail shops, wholesale shops, etc. But also visiting individuals in their respective areas of residence to ask them what did they consume, how much did they buy. So for that case, we want to know the information about prices and quantities. We can use this one. You can also, during this time, you can use even interviews. You can use questionnaires, because you are aiming to get information from those households. So you can interview them by asking them different questions, or you can prepare questionnaires of which, once they attempt, you want them to give you information about quantities and prices, both in the current year and in the base year. So this is data collection. So it is one of the very important stage in collecting this information. And these informations, they should only be related to the good which you have selected, not goods out of the basket. That means the basket goods which have been included in the basket, they are the ones which will be gathered in terms of these informations. This is the third step. After collecting information that you are sure now you have prices and quantities both in the current year and the base year, then you move to the fourth step, which is tabulation of data. It means now the collected data, they have now to be tabulated. To be tabulated means you can put this data in form of tables, especially tables, or if in some of the information, if you can prepare graphs, you can. But what is needed here, it is to tabulate the information. That means now the prices and the quantities which they were gathered, now you have to put them in form of tables. The table can appear maybe in form of this one, where you can find maybe a table is like this one. You can find maybe the first column can be for commodities. Here maybe it is commodities. Then maybe the second one is PO, where PO will be representing maybe price in the base year, PO. Then we'll be having maybe PN, probably. Likewise, we'll be having maybe quantities in the base year, that is QO, but you will also be maybe having QN, which may stand for quantities in the current year. So PO will be the prices of these goods, different goods in the market in the previous time or in the base year. PN will be standing for prices of goods in the current year. QO, quantities in the base year, and QN, quantities in the current year. Likewise, when we calculate these items, we may have items like this. For example, you can make, for example, maybe price base year times maybe quantity base year, or you can have price current year times quantity base year, or you can have price in the current year and the quantity in the current year. So then you have those commodities, maybe they are commodity A, commodity B, commodity C, commodity D. So you have to fill those informations, and this is what we speak of tabulation of data. So here you have tabulated the informations because all informations are there. And now this is the fourth step in measuring price index. The last step in measuring price index, it is selection of the formula. Selection of the formula to be used. Selection of the formula. So that is procedure number 5. Selection of the formula to be used and making interpretation of the index. So again here, it means you have to select the formula. There are different formulas, we'll see them later on. So you choose those formulas, then after choosing them, you calculate the index by using the information you have gathered and have tabulated them. So once you calculate those informations and you get the final answer for the index, then you make interpretation of the answer. This is the procedures of calculating price index. Now, in calculating price index, we have several ways of calculating price index. Ways of calculating indices. It means we want to calculate price index. There are different ways. There are different formulas that you can use to calculate price index. Now we can divide them into the following. Number 1, we'll check the so-called price relatives and the quantity relatives. Now here we may start with the price relatives. It means if you want to calculate the so-called price relative, it is a form of price index which is calculated by using price only without involving quantities. And in some language you say this is simple price index or unweighted price index, because these price relatives, they are calculated without involving quantities or the weight of a given commodities. We only include the prices of goods and services in that particular event. Now for that case, if you want to calculate price relatives, you want to see the rate at which prices are changing from time to time by comparing the current year prices and base year prices. For example, we say price relative, which is simple one, will be equals to, we take price of the current year divided by price of the base year times 100. This is a price relative. We just want to measure the rate at which these prices are increasing. So price relative can be also used to calculate by taking PN, that is price in the current year, over price in the base year times 100. This is when we speak of price relative. But this price relative can also be calculated by using the so-called price averages or average price index. Now when it is in terms of average, it means you'll be given maybe 2 years, but there are so many commodities there, and each commodity has its own price in the base year and the price in the current year. Now if you want to calculate the average price index, which is the same as simple price average relatives, that one will be obtained by saying price simple index will be equals to, you take summation of all prices in the current year, you divide by the summation of all prices in the base year, then times 100. If it means the first one, price relative, is used when we have only one item. That means in good one we have, this is price of meat. In 2010 it was this one, in 2020 it was this one. So it means you take the price in the current year, which is 2020, maybe we divide by the base year, which is 2010, then we multiply by 100 when we have only one item. Now when we have several items and we'll be told to calculate the price average or simple price index, that means we take the averages of the current year prices over the over the summation of prices of the base year times 100. Then what we get is the simple price index or the average price index, and you will see them later in some examples. So this is for the form of price relatives. But also we can have the so-called quantity relatives. Quantity relatives. Now quantity relative, like price relative, they are obtained, that is quantity relatives. They are obtained by comparing quantities in the current year and the quantities in the base year. So you can say, for example, quantity relative equals to quantity in the current year over quantity in the base year times 100. Again here, when you have been given quantities of a single commodity or a single item of which there is no need of making summation. So just take quantity of the current year over the base year times 100. But again, if you have been given quantities of different commodities, then you want to calculate the average quantity relatives. That means, again, you say quantity index will be equals to summation of quantity in the current year over summation of quantity in the base year times 100, if they are in form of averages. These are simple price index, but this is not including quantities, which is simple price index, and this is a quantity relative, which is only including quantities. Now this is for the case of price relatives and quantity relatives. Then again we'll be having different ways of calculating by using last pairs index and the Paget index. These two. So again, these two, they are introduced by different economists. This last pair is the name of a person, but also Paget is the name of a person. They introduced this formula of calculating price index. Now when we start with maybe, let's say, last pairs index, because sometimes calculating here is not a problem. a problem comes in making interpretation is where we're going to make a clear clarification there. Now, Laspeyres index, this is the way of calculating index which assumes the Bezier quantities. It assumes as if only prices have changed, but quantities of the Bezier remained the same. So it is assuming Bezier quantity. So it is calculated by assuming Bezier quantities. It means this formula or this method of calculating index, it does not include the change in quantities. It is assuming that the quantities consumed in the base year, they are the same consumed in the current year. So it is assuming base year quantities. For that case, you can say Laspeyres index or index Laspeyres will be equals to summation of PNQO, you divide by summation of POQO, then times 100. So this is where I want to calculate price index by using Laspeyres index, that it is the summation of price of the base current year times quantity of the base year divided by the summation of prices of the base year times quantities of the base year. Then after making those summations and you divide, you multiply by 100, you get the index, of which now will be in the position to make interpretation of the answer. This is the one of the useful method in calculating price index, because in most time it is overestimating the result. It is not underestimating, it is overestimating. So it is like the best way of calculating a price index. So this is Laspeyres index. We'll see it later on in the example, then we'll see how to interpret. Now the second one, which we said the Paget price index, it is another way of calculating price index as suggested by that economist. So we say J index, this is the index calculated by considering the current year quantities. It means in this case we consider current year quantities. Here we consider the base year quantities. Here we consider current year quantities. That means it assumes current year quantities. That is the idea. So it means again here it is assuming as if prices have changed, but quantities of the base year and the same year, they are just the same. So it is assuming current year quantities. So for that case, Paget index or index Paget will be equals to summation of PNQN, you divide by summation of POQN, then times 100. Now, we can, before we go to interpretation, because this is the formula for calculating index by using Paget, then this one uses Laspeyres. Now, we can make interpretation, but before we go to those interpretation, try to see here and here. We said these two, they are assuming as if prices, they are changing. You can see even here prices have changed, PN, PO, here PN, PO. But here it is assuming only current year quantities. Here it is assuming only base year quantities. Now what is the difference here? Try to check the numerator and the denominator. The numerator and the denominator. Now in the numerator, because of the because of these PN, current year prices, this will be regarded as a current year expenditure, because we want to compare base year expenditure and current year expenditure. It means if we take, for example, where there is this one, it means summation of PN QN. This stands for current year expenditure, or say expenditure in the current year. But because of previous price, it means if we take it, because quantity are assumed to be the same in the two period of time, it means only price is the one which has changed. So if we take P, O, and QN, this stands for, this is summation of P, O, QN. This stands for base year expenditure. It means expenditure individuals made in the base year. But this one is the expenditure individuals made in the current year. Likewise, in this formula again, if you check, because of PN, it means this one will be current year expenditure, while this one will be because of PO will be base year expenditure. So it means we are comparing the two, even in making interpretation, because in the numerator it is standing for current year expenditure. In the denominator it is standing for base year expenditure. So it means we are comparing base year expenditure and the current year expenditure. Then we want to see that expenditure, has it increased or has it not increased? It means if expenditure has increased, it means cost of living has increased, because when you say expenditure, it means how much that individual can buy given that price. So if expenditure is in the current year is greater than expenditure in the base year, it means those individuals, they bought more goods, maybe expenditure was greater than that one. So you can say cost of living has increased, value of money probably has fallen, by comparing the two. So in making interpretation, we'll be comparing these two sides, the numerator and the denominator. The numerator, it is current year expenditure, and the denominator, it is the base year expenditure. Now, how can we make interpretation after getting, because say the last step after making calculation, you make interpretation of what you have calculated. So we want to check interpretation. Interpretation. Now we make interpretation from what we got. We calculate price index. The answer obtained, it is the one which will be driving us to proper or to good interpretation. It means if we get wrong answer, our interpretation will also be wrong. If we get correct answer, the interpretation will be also correct, because when we multiply by 100, we assume that during that time, before changes, everything it was at 100. That means life is 100%. So it means we want to check the answer. Is it above 100 or is it below 100? It means if it is below 100, it means expenditure has fallen. If it is above 100, expenditure has increased. So it means we are multiplying by 100 so that we see how much it is increasing from 100 to in the current year, or how much it has fallen from 100. And that is, we make interpretation from the answer we get. Now, if we have two answers here, three interpretation here. One, if maybe let's say if current year expenditure, for example, we said PN QN is greater than PO QN. Remember we said PN QN represent current year expenditure. This one represent base year expenditure. It means now the numerator is greater than the denominator. It means here the answer is greater than 1. It means the answer, the index is greater than 1 or is greater than 100, because if you multiply by 100, you get above 100. If you don't multiply, it means it will be 1 or less than 1 or above 1. Now for that case, if the numerator is greater than the denominator, meaning that the current year is expenditure is greater than the base year expenditure. What do we mean? It means now here the cost of living has increased, because this is the current year expenditure. Now it is greater than this. So it means it indicates that the cost of living has increased. Now it has increased by how much? Just say from 100, how much has it increased? For example, if you get the answer, it is 120%. It means the cost of living has increased by 20, because you expected to get 100 if it is the same, but now it has increased by 20. So this 20 implies the rate at which the cost of living has increased. Now mind you, when cost of living increases, it means consumers, they use more money. That means price has increased. So it means prices has increased by the same rate, by 20% if it is 120. So prices has increased. Again, you can say living standard has fallen. By how much? By the same percent. Because when cost of living they're increasing, it means prices of goods are increasing as well, but also it means the cost of living increasing. It is implying that living standard has fallen, because now individuals are not capable to purchase as they can because of prices they're increasing, cost of living is increasing. And the other one we have to remember, when the prices has increased, it means even the value of money, it means here a value of money has fallen. This is when you get the current year expenditure greater than the base year expenditure. But the vice versa may come when now summation of Q PN is less than summation of PO QN. Likewise, it means the expenditure in the current year is less than expenditure in the base year. It means now here the answer is less than 100. Now, for example, maybe we get it is 78, maybe 0.6%, 78.6%. It means here now the cost of living between the current year and the base year, they have fallen. It means they are fallen by how much? It means this 78.6% is less to 100 by 21.4%. So it means you can say now here the cost of living has fallen or decreased by that amount, which I said for this case it is less than 21.4%. That means again here, if cost of living are declining or they are falling, that means the prices are also falling. So it means prices has decreased by that rate. Again, we can say living standard, if prices are falling, that means individuals are capable to buy more. So living standard is increasing. So living standard has improved again by that rate. Likewise, value of money has increased by that one. Remember we said the value of money is inversely related to price. Now if prices are falling, cost of living are falling, it means the value of money is increasing. That is for these two cases. Now if it happens now in very rare case that now the other case, if it happens that summation of PNQN is equal to summation of POQN, it means the two they are equal. It means expenditure in the base year is equal to the expenditure in the current year. They are equal. Now, if they are equal, that means you get the answer is 1 or 100. It means if you don't multiply by 100, you will end up getting 1. If you multiply by 100, it will be 100. So if you get 1 or 100, this will be implying that the expenditure in the current year is equal to expenditure in the base year. For that case, nothing has changed. The same cost of living, the same prices, the same living standard, and the value of money is just the same because the expenditure in the 2 year they are just the same. That is for the case of these two. Now, having seen these two and how to calculate and how to interpret, we can now try to check our example from the screen there. So we check that example, we can work it together. The example, have it there. So observe from the screen, you can see example there. We can get example here. So we have to move together. We have example there, which you can see it there. And that example, you can see, we have example here, example 1. Question number 1, the table below shows informations from country X. It means these informations, they are extracted from country X. Now the informations there are commodities. We have prices in 2000. We have quantity in 2000. We have prices in 2010. We have quantity in 2010. It means here we are comparing 2 years. We have 2000 and we have 2010. We want to compare the 2 years. And the commodities given, they are 5. We have rice, beans, yams, sugar, and fuel. Those are the commodities which have been taken in the basket of goods. Then you have prices for in 2000. You can see them. It means now this 2000 will be taken as a base year, as we have discussed, while the 2010 will be taken as a current year. So we are measuring those 2 years. So we have seen different items on how to calculate this index. Now the questions are, find the price relative for sugar. It means here only price relative for sugar, only sugar, not any other commodity, only for sugar. Now, for the first case, which is price relative for sugar, that case, we said price relative is equal to PN over PO times 100. Recall what we did. So for that case, we try to check for sugar. We said 2000 or 2000 is the base year. 2010 is the current year. Now for sugar, it means this 220 or 220, it is the price in the base year. While in the current year, we had 160, which will be the current year. So it means our price index will be the PN, which is 160, divided by 2, this one, times 100. Now, if you take in your calculator, you'll get the answer there. That is, we get 160, we divide by 220, we get, it is, you finally get 72.7%. That is our index. So it means if we compare with the base year, it means you can find that it is less than 100. It means now price has fallen. So if you will be asked you to interpolate, you can see now the answer here is less than 100 by 27.3%. That is the answer. So this is the price relative for sugar. Likewise, the second question, it is asking, calculate or find the simple average price index. Now I said simple average price index. When given different commodities or many commodities, if you want to calculate simple average price index, I said this one, it is obtained by making the summation of the prices of the current year over the summation of the price in the base year times 100. So I said if it is simple, simple index will be equals to summation of Pn over summation of PO times 100. It means it will be equals to, we add all the prices in the current year, we add all prices in the base year, then you multiply by 100. It means in the numerator, because it's current year, you can observe those prices there. We have 150 plus, we have 100 plus, we have 140 plus, we have 160 plus, then we have 120. This one will be divided by the base year, we have 140 plus, we have 120 plus 170 plus, we have 220, then plus the last one, which is 100, and this will be multiplied by 100. If you add in calculator, you get 670. Then this one, 140 plus 120 plus 170 plus 220 plus 100, if you add there, you get 750. Then times 100. Finally, you'll get the answer, it is 89.3%. So again, you can find here, the answer is less than 100, and as we have explained how to interpolate, you'll be now in a position to interpolate the answer. Now, we go to part 3, question part 3. Part 3, it is asking, you calculate or you find per price index. Now again, recall back from what we did for number 3. We said per index equals to summation of Pn Qn divided by summation of Po Qn, then times 100. This is for per. So summation means you take prices in the current year times quantities in the current year, then you divide it by prices of the base year times quantity in the base year. Now try to check. It means for numerator, which we take prices in the current year times prices in the base year, it means we'll be taking prices of 2010 times quantities of 2010, because this is the current year. Then for numerator, because we take prices in the base year, price the base year is this one, times quantity in the current year, which is this one. So you can again move together. You can find it will be equals to, for the part, that part we said this one times this one. So it will be 150 times 8 plus, we move first, 100 times 10 plus, we have 140 times 5 plus, we have 160 times 10, then plus, we have 120 times 5. Then this one we divide by POQN. PO is this one times the last column. So it will be again 140 times 8. That is, then plus, which will be 120 times 10 plus the other one, which will be 170 times 5 plus 220 times 10, then plus the last one, which is 100 times 5, and all of these times 100. Use your calculator to add those items. you'll find this one, it will be 1,200 plus 1,000 plus this one will be 140 times 5, 700 plus that one will be 1,600 plus 600. Then we divide by this one, it will be this times this, will get 0 to 11 plus where we'll get 120, 0, then plus this times this we'll get 850, then plus this one, it is this one, and plus 500. This is for the case of that one. So after adding the numerator, you get 5,100. Then you divide by, if you add this one, 1,120 plus this one plus this one, if you add in your calculator, you'll get 5,870. Then this one times 100. Now if you multiply, you'll end up getting 86.9%. So this is our index per J for that case. So again, this, if you check, it is less than 100, and as I said in making interpretation, it is less than 100 means the cost of living has fallen, value of money has increased, and living salary have increased for the case of per J, because it is less than 100. And the last question there, it is asking last payers price index. So we have again to calculate last payers index. So we said last payers index part 4, last payers index equals to summation of PNQO over summation of POQO times 100. This is for last payers. Now from the question there, you can see if we say last payers, it is the summation of PNQO. Likewise, summation of POQO. It means POQO, it is this one times this one. While PNQO, it means you take prices, these ones, times QO, which is this one. So that is the difference. So here, we'll get this way. So we'll find it will be equals to summation of PNQO. It means you add, we start with PNQO. The prices new, it is 150 times, we have 80. Then this one plus, again there we have 100 times 5 plus, we have 140 times 4 plus, we have 160 times 6 plus, we have the last one, which is 120 times 10. Then this one you divide by POQO, where we take 140 times 8 plus, we have 120 times 5 plus, we have 170 times 4 plus, we have 220 times 6 we have plus, again we have 100 times 10. This all again times 100. So if we multiply this one, you get 150 times this one, you get 1,200 plus, this one will be 500 plus, this times it will be 560 plus, this one 160 times 6 will be 960 plus, that one will be 1,200. This one will divide by, again, this one times this will be 120 plus, this one will be 600 plus 170 times this will be 680 plus, there will be having 1,320 plus 1,000. Then all these times 100. So you can add the numerator. We have 120 0 plus 500 plus 560 plus 960 plus 1,200. This one will get 420 divided by the denominator will be 120 plus 600 plus 680 plus 1320 plus 1000. This one you get 4720 times 100. So on dividing this one, you'll get the final answer 4420. You divide by 4720. This one you get, it is 93.60%. So remember we said last pairs, it is overestimating. That's why you can find it is greater than Paget, because you say this one it is overestimating while this one is underestimating. So again, both they are less than 100. So you can make interpretation on the two. And this is the way we can calculate these indices and how we can make interpretation. So this will be the last part of these explanations. But reminding you, price index, they are very useful. And for the economy, for the country, for the government, and for individuals, they are very useful because these indices, they can be used as instrument for policy formulation. The government can formulate different policies basing on these indices. For example, wage policies, we have issues of taxes and other items because they are directly affecting the living standard of the people, so they are very useful in the economy. We can use them to compare living standard of different societies. We can use them to compare cost of living of different years. We can use them to know the well-being of the people. So they are very useful in the economy generally. Now, having seen all of these and how to calculate them, at your own time, you can go and discuss probably the uses or the importance of these indices and the problems facing these indices. Then you can observe from the screen, we have a homework there where we have two questions. A homework, we have a homework here. Question number 1, it is asking, Mr. Mwalusaka, who is the director of the National Board of Statistics of country N, observed that the prices of goods and services had increased for 4 consecutive weeks in the rate of 5.5%, 6.5%, 10%, and 12%. Explain the economic term used to describe the situation above. Then suggest the reasons behind its occurrence. It means this Mr. Mwalusaka, who is the director of National Board, has observed that prices have increased consecutively in 4 weeks in the rate mentioned there. Then we have been asked to give the economic term, explain the economic term that describe that situation. Then suggest the reasons behind that occurrence. What has caused that situation to occur? That is for the first question, we have to deal with it. Then for the second question, the informations below were extracted from the economy of a certain country. Now in this, we have commodities, they are 4. We have meat, shoes, soybeans, and millet. And we have 3 years there. We have 2000, we have 2010, and we have 2015. Now we have also prices in each year. Now the questions are asking, number 1, calculate last payers index of 2015 using 2000 and 2010 as base year and give economic interpretation of the index obtained. So we have been asked to calculate price index by using last pairs of 2015, but we have been given 2 years there, 2000 and 2010 as the base year. So recall what we did in the class. You can know how to get the prices and the quantities between those 2 years. Then you calculate the index. The last question is asking, calculate the Paget price index of 2010 using 2000 as base year and give economic interpretation. So you calculate those two and you give economic interpretation for what you have obtained. This is the end of our session. Thank you for listening and meet next lesson.